Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. I was oh wait, hold on a second. Sorry. I'm also recording this right after the Robot Revolution episode. It's already 10:30. I'm a bit tired, but I'm trying to keep my excitement up cuz this was actually a really cool episode. It's called Lux. It's the second one, and I'm so glad I didn't get spoiled with anything with this one. Not like anything completely like earth shattering happens in it or anything. It's just there's some really cool stuff in it that 100% feel like something I would have gotten like spoiled on Reddit like days after the episode came out or something. No, the only things I actually knew about this one was that like the Doctor Who YouTube channel, which I don't even remember if I'm like subscribed to or not, it was made. That was pretty cool. So I already knew like what the villain looked like, which even the concept is cool because he's this little like 1950s. It's an episode that takes place in the 1950s, but he looks like a rubber hose cartoon character. It looks like something like straight out of Cuphead. I kind of hate saying that actually because it's one of those things, kind of like how with like FNAF came out, and then every time certain people like, I mean including me too, like you see an animatronic and you just permanently associate it with FNAF. It's just kind of like one of those things, and it's the same way with this, where it's like every time I see like a certain style of like 2D cartoon character like this, I just immediately think of Cuphead. But no, he does look like someone that could be in Cuphead, especially because there's a part, I mean throughout the entire episode except for the beginning, he is like a sentient cartoon character and stuff, and is interacting with like the Doctor and Belinda and everything going on. Also because he turns out to not actually be a cartoon character, which is pretty crazy. No, but when he's like in his own little cartoon or whatever, no, it looks like it could straight up just be like a cropped part of like a scene in like Cuphead or something. I mean, I shouldn't say scene. I know it's a TV show now. I haven't watched it yet. I've played the game like a little bit. But I've seen like gameplay of the boss fights and stuff. What I'm saying is like he looks like he can be Cuphead, and that's pretty cool. So I was like hyped ever since the episode came out. I knew like nothing about the plot or anything. I was just like, this art style looks cool. They have a 2D character. He's voiced by Alan Cumming, who I listen to a lot because he's in like musicals that I listen. He's like one of the like big names in musical theater and stuff. He's been in Doctor Who before. I think it was one of the 11th Doctor's episodes, but he like was like playing a person, not like voicing a character or anything, but like here he's voicing a character, and it just sounds like he's having so much fun voicing this character and getting to like sing a little bit too. It's like as soon as I heard the character, I'm like, oh, I recognize this person immediately. But that, I think, like added to the fun of it. And there's also this little jingle the character sings where he's just has like a little song about his name or whatever, and it's still stuck in my head like an hour later. I am never going to get that out. And it doesn't even happen a lot in the episode, which is great because that would actually have been really annoying if it just kept going. It happens maybe like 2 times, but it's like da 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 da. It's just like really catchy. Okay, so this episode starts with the Doctor, whenever there's like a problem and there's like some kind of like contraption the Doctor pulls out of nowhere, or like a funky feature from the TARDIS we've never seen before, just to solve the plot problem. It's one of those where it's like, I don't even remember the name of it. It's some kind of device that looks kind of like a radio tower antenna thing or whatever that like the Doctor pulls out, and he describes it like a fishing rod that basically I guess I missed most of the description too because I was talking to my friend, but it's like they land in places and they set it up outside and it like absorbs energy or something, and then they use that to be able to it'll like launch them to the date they're trying to go to, like May 24th 2025 or whatever. Which that would be really funny actually if the show did end that date, because it started up in like early April or something. Um, but yeah, it's basically like an excuse for them to go on more adventures, even though it's like Belinda wants to go home and the doctor wants to like actually get her home and stuff, but like they literally can't. So they got to be able to travel around some more, but that's fine. It's cool. So they end up in 1952. No, it actually starts. I'm sorry. It starts with the Mr. Ring-a-Ding character. That's the little funny blue guy that is like the villain for this episode. Where actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I know I said that part earlier where I was like, oh, he wasn't a cartoon. He's actually someone else. It's like there's this thing with the moon where the moon shines on him, and he ends up able to like see and hear the audience and comes out of the screen. There's like a part where he grows huge, we don't actually see it, and I thought he like killed the audience, but it turns out he is trapping them in film, and once that gets revealed, it made me think of the Idiot's Lantern, the one where it was like the woman that was in the TV and she like ate the energy from people's brains. It was like electricity thing, and then their bodies had literally no face, and their actual faces were like these silent heads on like screens of TV. I very clearly remember that because that episode scared the shit out of me when I was little when I watched it. Because I started watching Doctor Who when I was like 11 or 12 or something because of my cousin. But yeah, that episode gave me nightmares. I very clearly remember that one. Um, I think that's one of the only ones that like scared me as a kid too. So that was like that connection was like very clear in my mind. Not that this one's scary. The like trapping people in film thing isn't even like visually close to being as scary or anything, but it immediately made me think about that. I'm like, ah. Um, but yeah, then oh yeah, the Doctor and Belinda actually do get to chat in the TARDIS for a bit besides talking about the fishing rod thing. And I feel like this is one of those episodes where it's like they're slowly bonding a little bit and you can see it, and it's like, yeah, they're dealing with the villain, but there's also like character development stuff happening. And that's pretty cool. And I like how some of her dialogue kind of reminds us of like, yeah, she does get affected by traveling through time and stuff. Like she gets kind of reflective and sad about like family and stuff, and when they like she mentions about missing her parents and hoping she can see them again, and then they land in 1952 and they see this like old theater, and she thinks about like how the guy the theater's named after for is like dead by now or whatever. I just thought that was interesting, is it's like, yeah, you probably would have like a different concept of death and stuff if you like had to travel through time. I just feel like she has like realistic like reactions to things, and I don't know, I feel like I appreciate that. Also, her and the Doctor get these like pretty cool outfits because they're like in the 50s. There's a part where where she's like, I'm still in my pajamas or whatever, and the Doctor's like, that's fine, let's go put on outfits. And I love how much 15 actually changes outfits throughout these two seasons. I feel like a lot of the time the Doctors have like one outfit, and it's like one distinctive outfit, and it's like the companions will get dressed up to go to the past, and the Doctor's just rocking like a coat and a hat or whatever. I mean, I get that's probably like a cosplay thing too. Like it's like once the Doctor has an iconic outfit. Actually, I think I read somewhere that like, and I don't know if it's true. It was like articles that kept popping up on my phone actually of like RTD trying to make like cosplay easier or something. No, there was like a specific word, and like that's, I guess, supposed to be part of the reason the Doctor doesn't have like an iconic outfit. I feel like the closest to that was maybe like that long brown coat from the Christmas episode. But I actually think it's cool that this specific Doctor is like changing outfits. Like he seems very like hip, and that felt kind of cringe to say hip, but like hip, and would want to dress like really cool. I feel like He's got a really cool fashion sense, so I actually love the whole concept of like the Doctor changing outfits. I would be fine if that was like a thing for like every future Doctor, where they can't every episode they just have different outfits, because then it's not just a companion like changing outfits to go like to the past or the future, like an alien planet or whatever. It's like everyone's getting into it. It feels more realistic of like, they're in a time machine, they're running around, going all over the place. But yeah, their outfits are really cool. I really liked Belinda's like yellow dress. It's like a sundress or something, I think. What else? They go to a diner. Something I thought was interesting is like, how previous trying to think of the way to phrase this. So it's not. I was going to say, how previous doctors wouldn't really think a lot about racism, but I think 12 did punch a racist. I think in terms of themselves, though, because I still think about the episode where Ten and Martha went to, like, go meet Shakespeare, and Martha was like, isn't it dangerous, we're going to the past, and the doctor was like, it's fine, and gave some, like, bullshit thing, except, like, the doctor was white at that point, so he didn't, like, get it, and then we had the that Dot and Bubble episode with stupid Lindy Pepperbean. I still hate her, by the way. I found her annoying. I think ever since that episode, from how I understood, like, the doctor's dialogue in this one, it's like the doctor was kind of, like, made more aware about, like, racism and having to be, like, careful about, like, going to the past and stuff. Because it's, like, Belinda's also affected by it, too. Because the diner is, like, supposed to be segregated, but then they're like, it's 4 a.m., it's fine, go talk to this lady at the diner or whatever. They get a pass for the plot, but then it comes up later where the villain has this, like, they're trapped in a film or something, and there's this, like, police officer that shows up and holds them both at gunpoint, and the lady from the diner is, like, freaking out or whatever, and it's very clearly, like, a racism thing. But then it turns out to be part of the villain's trap and didn't, like, actually happen or whatever. Yeah. Then... Sorry, a bit tired. Then we get to see Mr. Ringading, where he isn't... I was fully expecting him to be, like, huge or whatever. He's like a silly little guy. I don't know how much of him is, like, supposed to be, like, a actual cartoon character in universe, and how much of it is supposed to be a god. I'm not kidding on that second part, though. They're like, fighting gods again, which I guess has been, like, a thing for, like, 14 and 15 now, huh? Because it was, like, the toy maker coming back, and then we had Maestro, and it's, like, the god of, like, music and stuff, and then there was the god of death, and now we're having, like, the god of light, apparently. Like, from the trailers and stuff, I mean, I didn't think this was going to be a completely silly episode, but I thought, like, okay, they're having, like, a cartoon character as a villain. I almost thought it was going to be, like, a Turbo thing, like Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph, if you remember. It was, like, the in-universe audience, like, paid attention to different games, and he got, like, jealous over it, and then started going into other games to, like, try to get attention, and then his game got shut down, and he, like, freaked out about it. I thought it was gonna be, like, something with that. I don't know, I was just guessing because the villain's, like, a cartoon character, or I thought maybe it would be, like, people aren't going to the theater anymore, or maybe, like, whatever. Like, I saw the thing with the moon at the beginning, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's, like, weird stuff with the moon. But no, apparently the episode is called Lux because he's actually, like, Lux, the god of light. But I felt kind of confused because they have that thing with the moon at the beginning. That was the thing that threw me off, where it was, like, it started out as, like, a normal cartoon, like a cartoon about this little character, Mr. Ring-a-Ding or whatever. And then the moon, like, the moon is visible from the clouds suddenly, and it shines on, like, it gets reflected on a bunch of surfaces on the screen, and then from that point the villain is, like, suddenly aware of things or whatever, and he combines it as like moonlight and electricity, like when he's trying to explain it to the doctor. So I'm assuming the god of light is like from the moon or something, and then is like possessing this cartoon character. I don't know. I still feel iffy on it. But yeah, he's actually like a god or whatever, but then he still kind of like acts like a cartoon character a lot of the time. Like every time the little song from his clip is played, he has to be on that stage and like sing the song. He can't like move or anything, even if he's not physically part of the screen anymore. But then he also has like really fun reality warping powers too, where apparently he can move the cameras, or not cameras, the like projectors or something, and that's how you like trap people with film or whatever. But like, dang, the 2D animation, I want to just talk. I'm assuming it's 2D. He didn't look like a 3D model. And I mean, with all the fuss about like the videos about like how the episode was made that kept coming up from the Doctor Who channel, I'm like, he's got to be 2D. It felt very Roger Rabbit. It was very cool. Like that's kind of how good it looked, assuming he was, 2D, where it's like he's just there. He's like on the little stage with like, or not stage, but outside the screen or whatever, with like the Doctor and Belinda. He's like right there. It was just, oh, it was so cool. That was like the fun thing for me with this episode. I just get excited about that stuff. Oh yeah, there's like a plot line with this projectionist character, because it's basically like Mr. Ringading made like the audience watching his cartoon disappear with like the moon shenanigans or something. They're like trapped in the film. So there's not really many characters in this episode. For most of it is pretty much just him, the Doctor, Belinda, and then this projectionist guy. And the projectionist guy has like his own little plot line, kind of, where it's basically that he, I guess, brought a video of his wife, or like film of his wife. I wouldn't be like a video at this point in time, the 50s. I guess to like Mr. Ringading, or maybe he carried it on him or something, of like his dead wife, and then he's watching it on a screen, and then she gets like technically brought to life or whatever, in like the same way Mr. Ringading jumps out, but she wasn't like evil or anything. It was like she was there. So he gets to see his dead wife again, and then like that's the reason he's trying to help out the villain or something. And then he gets like, when he's telling the Doctor information, Lux is like, oh, you should be careful what you say or whatever, giving away my secrets. What about your wife and stuff? So that was kind of mean, but like that whole little plot line felt kind of sad, because he does, his wife shows up as like a ghost or something at the end and gives him the plot item, and then he dies in the theater on purpose by bringing it down and stuff. So it's like kind of sad. Like we don't really see much of this character, but I just thought like, oh. Okay, then the really cool thing, which is one of those things that I just would have assumed would have been like spoiled for me on like Reddit or something, was there's a part where Lux ends up actually trapping the Doctor and Belinda in the film. At first I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like only Belinda would be trapped and the Doctor would have to like save her or whatever. But they both actually get trapped, and then it's not for very long. It's for like a couple of minutes, actually, with this cool part where they become 2D, but it's like the art style of like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I don't know why it was like that specifically, but it was like really cool the way they did that. And then that part's actually kind of sad. I assumed it was going to be like kind of like, haha, they're like cartoons or whatever. It's basically like they have to have depth as characters by like feeling strong emotions and having grief and being like people and stuff in order to gain depth to literally become 3D. I thought that was a cool way of doing it, but it basically turns into them. It's like they were being avoidant of things while they were in the TARDIS. Not like it was like super obvious. It's like, well, sort of. Belinda asks the Doctor about like, why can't we go to your like Time Lord land or whatever, and he's like, actually it's called Gallifrey, let's not worry about that right now. And then they basically confess like sad secrets about things to each other, and it's like a heart-to-heart moment. Actually, it's kind of nice, where but it's like a very fast one where Belinda says how she wants to go home and she's like worried about it or something. I don't remember what her thing was, but the doctor's like, yep, I can't go home to Gallifrey. It's gone. I'm the last of the Time Lords, even though I do not believe that's true because we still have that like little plot thread of like the Master as a gold tooth or whatever. I'm still wondering if they're gonna do something with that. Um, and he's scared that he can't get Belinda home because that means like something could actually be wrong, which of course we know it is. And then there's a part where they get held up by the police officer. I mentioned about that already. They realize it's not real because the police officer's not wearing the correct uniform or something, and then they crawl through a screen. It kind of threw me off. My friend was making jokes about it actually because the actors were facing the camera and it's supposed to be the characters being like, we are the film, we have to crawl through the screen, and they end up bumping off like glass, and then they do crawl through a screen, but like before that happens my friend kept making jokes about like TVs being broken or something, or like they're gonna come through the screen, it's gonna be like The Ring. Anyway, they crawl through a screen and they're in a living room and it's just people watching Doctor Who. Like literally when they leave that same room later, the Doctor Who logo is just straight up on like in-universe TV screen, which felt really weird. I don't think we've seen that like physically in the have we seen that physically in the show? Like I know oh gosh, I think it was back in the classic series where it's like someone is watching Doctor Who, or it's like the start, like right before the show like starts in the 60s or something, and it's like an announcer saying something like we're going back to whatever, but you don't hear like the name of the show. They've done like little gags I think like that before, but here just seeing like the straight up current logo like in the show threw me off. But it's like such a weird but funny moment where it's like they meet fans, they're all wearing merch. One of them's wearing a Meep shirt. I kind of want to get that shirt. There's, of course, somebody with the Fourth Doctor scarf. I feel like that's like the iconic piece of merch. And there was someone wearing a fez. I think she had a Cyberman on her shirt. I think everything they were wearing was like some kind of reference. There's also a mug that had a name on it. I think it was like a quote mug. I think it was one of the Third Doctor's companions. I thought it was something related to Liz Shaw, but I'm not sure. I have to go back to look at it. But anyway, it's basically that they meet these people and they're like, oh my gosh, you're the Doctor. Whoa. It felt kind of funny because like I thought about that Love and Monsters episode where it was like those people in universe that like formed that fan club, and then the weird monster that like absorbs them shows up and ruins everything, and it was supposed to be like a parody of like Doctor Who fans, but then in this episode it's like it is literally supposed to be Doctor Who fans. I mean, I'm assuming they were actors. I don't That would have been really great if they were like actual fans of the show. They pulled in and just been like, hey, do you want to actually be in the show or whatever. I don't know who any of them were. I didn't recognize them. But yeah, they sit there and they're like, oh my gosh, you're the Doctor, you're Belinda. And they're like, how do you know that? And then the Doctor's like, oh, so we're fictional. And he catches on like real quick to that and stuff. And they say like, I've watched every episode and whatever. Like the Doctor is very quick to recognize that he's like a fictional character in this, which I find really funny. And he's like not weirded out by it at all, and Belinda's just like, what the heck, but I have parents. And one of the fans mentions like, yeah, your mom like plays the violin or something. We haven't seen her parents at this point. I think she talked about her dad a little bit at the start of this episode though. And Belinda's like, how do you know? Because that would be crazy, right? If someone just tells you like, oh yeah, you're actually fictional, I watch you on TV. That's gotta be fucking wild. Anyway, and then it sort of goes into parody territory a little bit with things. I feel like it was poking fun at fans. Where the Doctor's like, okay, what's your favorite adventure? I like how he frames it as adventure, not episode. And they all immediately say Blink. Which, to be fair, that is like most people's favorite episode. Not mine, but it is pretty good. Which I also found really funny because like the Doctor actually isn't really in that one very much. because it focuses on Sally in that one. And the doctor is like kind of offended, and he starts listing off plot lines of things that have happened in like his episodes, and they're like, nope, blink. And then it turns out that that was like foreshadowing like 5 seconds in the future, because the in-universe fans are the ones that are actually fictional, not the doctor and Belinda. And it was like part of the villain's trap thing or whatever, and the doctor figures it out and Belinda doesn't, because the fans are like, okay, you gotta go, we're gonna not be here soon or whatever. And Belinda's like, what are you guys talking about and stuff. It's basically like they know they're going to die, but then we find at the end of the episode they're like fine or whatever, and then they're still critiquing the episode. But it's not just like a funny little fan thing though. It is basically that they give the doctor a hint on how to defeat the villain, of like giving him what he wants. I don't remember the exact wording, but it is like plot important. And then the doctor, they have to like get out of the screen, and the doctor's hand gets burned, and he ends up wasting regeneration energy to heal the hand. It's literally just to make a point to Belinda about like, because she wants to help him with his hand, not just because they're friends, but also she's literally a nurse. I thought that was sweet anyway. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm a Time Lord, different, like, thingy word, different body structure, whatever. And then he heals the hands. And I thought, that is a waste of regeneration energy. How dare you? But he does mention of like, oh, I've been like saving it for something like this or whatever. But then it is plot important though, because the villain sees and is like, ooh, you're made of light. Whoa. And then he ends up tying up the doctor with like film, and then literally sucks the regeneration energy out of him. Like the doctor gets like put up on a wall, and then gets like the energy sucked out. And I'm like, damn, this is probably got to be one of the closest someone's actually gotten to beating him, because he can't actually do anything at that point. And then Belinda has to remember the advice, and then ends up trying to find matches, burns down the theater. It's basically to make like a whole. At first I thought it was going to be related to fire. I'm like, okay, they're going to destroy the film, and he's like not going to exist or whatever. But no, instead it gets like crazier, where the projectionist ghost wife gives him the matches, and he burns the place down, and then that ends up opening up a hole in the theater, and it lets in the sun. Because the whole thing with Lux, with like the Mr. Ring-a-Ding thing, is that he only ever shows up at night, even though he like desperately craves light. Like it literally allows him to grow bigger in size. So he ends up absorbing so much light from the sun that he grows ridiculously huge to the point where he outgrows Earth, and then ends up away from Earth, and then absorbs light from like the universe and the cosmos. And I'm like still thinking about that actually, because his eyes, his little pie-shaped eyes or whatever, end up literally getting filled. They turn yellow, and he like sheds a tear and says like thank you or something. Like he looks so happy and says something about like, I am light but I am nothing or whatever. He gets like absorbed in the universe or something. So I don't know if he's dead or not. It was kind of weird. It's like described as like, we drink water but we still drown, was like the analogy and stuff, or like how humans have water inside them and still drown. So I guess it was like drowning in that sense of having too much of something, but it was like light, but he looked like happy about it. So I don't know. I mean, he also technically didn't like kill anyone, because like as soon as he disappears, like the people from inside the theater end up being fine, the like in-universe fans end up being fine. Literally the only person that dies was the projectionist, and that was unrelated to the villain. I mean, that was necessary to stop him, but like that was the projectionist's choice, not anything. Like the villain didn't kill him, so it was almost an episode where no one died. But yeah, the people in the theater end up being fine, and then Belinda says something about like being kind of unsure about the doctor and now definitely believing it. They have like a little like, do you trust me moment while they're like, while the doctor's getting the regeneration energy like sucked out of him. Oh my gosh, I didn't write about the super important thing. Okay, Miss Flood shows up again, I think like right before the TARDIS leaves, and she mentions to the people like in the scene about making fourth wall breaking things again, about like, oh, that show's going to have like a limited run or whatever. And at first it sounds in character with the 1950s, and she says something about like May 24th or whatever. And at first I just assumed like, okay, is she hinting the show's going to end at May 24th, because she says something like it's ending in May 24th or something. I literally like paused to go Google, but no, I completely already forgot the plot thing about like Belinda and the doctor are trying to get back to like May 24th or whatever it is. And that's the date that Miss Flood mentions. Which I guess maybe in universe it's like they have to eventually go back to that time, and then the season would probably end or whatever. Maybe it's like the doctor does get Belinda home and then it's like fine. I mean, the thing with Ruby was like they were trying to investigate about her mom, which I'm still mad about that, of like the mom was just some normal lady, and then it was explained away as like she was only important because we made her important. Like the freaking like toy maker and like Sutek or whatever were interested in this like normal human woman, but no one knew, and no one knew what she was or whatever. It caused all like the weird shit to happen with Ruby. I don't know. It just ends up being something like that again, where it's like it's hyped up as a big thing and then it's actually just nothing. I'm gonna be like kind of mad about that. But I'm more concerned about though is Mrs. Flood, and that's like the thing that kind of actually keeps me watching at this point, because it's like I think with the first season, I don't remember if she was in every episode. I mean, Ruby was definitely noticing her. I don't remember with the doctor, and then they never really end up solving that or anything. And then with this one, it's like she's not just showing up as someone in the background or whatever. She is there, and she does keep talking to the audience. She's like breaking the fourth wall more and more and stuff, but she keeps just showing up like I think as herself at this point, of just being an old lady or whatever. But I feel like every time we've directly like seen her where she's not pretending to be somewhere else, I think she's been in the present. So the fact that she's just popping up in like 1952, and it's only like when the TARDIS leaves or whatever, is the thing I'm just most curious about. Like, that I guess does mean she's time traveling along with them, and I'm like, girly, where's your time machine? Who are you? That's just gonna keep bothering. Like, she has to be something big if she keeps showing up, and I feel like she's one of those few characters that has the ability to directly like interact with the audience. So I'm like, I think it would be really funny though if she wasn't like a character you'd expect, like the Master or whatever, or like a big named person, if she was actually just like someone new or whatever. If she doesn't end up being important though, I'm gonna feel like that's gonna be like the biggest waste, honestly. Because yeah, like I mentioned with the gold tooth, I'm wondering if that is gonna happen with like the Master though, because I was like back with the toy maker of like the Master got turned into a gold tooth or whatever. I don't even remember who was last in possession of it either. I feel like that might also just be an excuse of like okay, we're gonna like bring back the Master eventually, and that's how it's gonna happen. He's just gonna like, they're just gonna like pop up or something out of nowhere or whatever. But I don't think we're due for the Master yet. I'm just more concerned about Mrs. Flood. I feel like her name's probably going to be significant of something. But yeah, this was a cool episode. I still really liked it. I actually kind of did wish we got to see more of Lux. Like, he shows up at the beginning and he shows up at the end, but then like the middle chunk of the episode is just like Belinda and the Doctor inside of like the film, which that segment was really cool. That was actually my favorite part of them getting to talk to like the fans, was pretty funny. And them getting turned to like a Hanna-Barbera art style, and like felt like a character bonding segment between them. But it's like, I want to see the cool little 2D guy that I'm also still surprised is the god of light. I don't get the thing with like the moon, unless he like came from the moon. That would actually be kind of significant, because like brought to life by moonlight and then gets absorbed into the sun and like dies. Feels kind of poetic. But yeah, I don't know when the next couple episodes are coming out. Like we saw the little like next time thing, my friend and I, at the end of this one, where it looks like it's gonna be some kind of like spooky space. It looks like some kind of like space horror one where they have like futuristic spacesuits and stuff. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But this was kind of like a fun little break between like Star Wars type robot stuff. I don't know why I'm thinking of like Star Wars. You know, with like the first episode, and then the next one is like even harder into sci-fi, and then this one was like, I feel like there's always like one kind of like a weird little quirky like fantasy episode or like something really bizarre, and this was probably it. I don't know what it would have been for like the other season, but I'm glad we're like still keeping up with the Doctor, because I feel like with the two Doctor Light episodes in the previous season, I'm like, can we just hang on to this Doctor for like a whole season? Not like I need him to be on screen always or always as the main character, because like I do think it was interesting to have like episodes where Ruby was the main character. But it's like I like his chemistry with Belinda already. I'm excited to see where their friendship goes and why they can't go back to Earth. But yeah, I don't know when I'll get to continue with this. I have like finals and stuff right now, and then I have to look for a job. So I might just still be late with these. I have to wait like 3 weeks probably to make another one of these, and depends. I might even just wait till the whole season's done and then like try to watch them all at once with my friend. We're also trying to watch JoJo Part 6 at the same time of this. So we'll see. I'm just saying it might be a while till there's more of these little reviews, but that's okay. Gotta get through school first and stuff. Alright, see you guys next time. Bye bye.